If you're not familiar with Broker Connect, this is a bi-weekly interactive session where we typically have our top brokers and power users of Arrive jump on and share their best practices so that you can learn how to leverage the platform and pick up a bunch of tips. But today, you may notice that this is a little different situation. You might recognize one of our super users has actually joined the Arrive team. And we're so excited to have Corey Burns share some tips with us, along with our amazing product expert, Lorinda Little. But before I pass it on to them, I did want to cover a little bit of our events so that if you don't know, we have a ton of free training. You can go to our events page. We'll throw that in the chat. We have our onboarding for our admins every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific. These are all free trainings with live people. You can jump in and ask questions. And then we do have two sessions of new user training, part one and two, every Tuesday and Thursday. Part one is at 10 a.m. Pacific, and part two is at 12 p.m. Pacific. And then every day we also have our Arrive Live Q&A with our and ask them any questions. And then every other Friday is our Arrive University, where you get to hear directly from our CEO, Harish, and you get to hear some updates and enhancements. And then again, we also have our Broker Connect every other Friday. So that's at arrive.com/events. And before I pass it over, this is a little different. We're going to ask everybody if you guys can hold your questions till we open it up for Q&A and just kind of let them go through this. And we're going to put it all in the chat, any questions you guys might have. But that's all I got. I'm ready to turn it over to our special guests and let them share their tips with you.
Thank you for the warm introduction. Hi, guys. I'm Corey, new member of the Arrive team. I'm excited to be teaching you some tips and tricks today about Arrive, maybe some items that you haven't known before, especially if you're newer to the product. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive right in. Like they said, if you have questions about some of these products, we're going to have time at the end of this to jump in there and talk about those. And we're going to want you to put those questions into the chat. My fellow teammates and I are going to be watching the chat, and we'll pick questions out of there at the end to answer, or we can direct you to the right resource to get the answers and training that you're looking for. Now let's do some good old screen sharing. Just a moment here. All right, if everybody can see my screen, let's get a big thumbs up, please. Can I get some thumbs up on the screen? You can see my screen. Perfect. All right, this is the Arrive dashboard. Lots of people sleep on this right at the beginning when they first get access. It's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of graphs. If you have big numbers, usually that means you're doing big business, and that's good news. But there's a couple quirks to it that may not be obvious to you. The thing I want to call out today is this top section right here. You're going to see that it's pointing out a couple items to me that it wants me to act upon. Oh, I have some client needs that are pending, some conditions pending, some locks that are expiring, and even some updated items over here. So my first tip to you is that any number you see on this screen is actually a button. So for instance, if I want to look and say, what are these 6 locks that are expiring? If I click on this, it's actually going to open a window and show me what those are, that those loans that are going to expire. And even better yet, these are links that if you click them, it'll take you directly into that file. So you should start your day here on this dashboard screen, reviewing your various elements, because it's trying to call out to you, hey, here are the things that need to be acted upon. Special notice over here in upcoming events. A lot of people ignore this section entirely, but especially when we get lower rates, we're looking for reasons to refi. We're looking for reasons to continue to connect with our borrowers, new and existing. We're trying to give you some hints with this screen. For instance, birthdays are folks that have birthdays in that month. You can click on it. Now you have a list right here, ready to start dialing and smiling and reaching out and telling people happy birthday, making that connection point. Similar deal with your loan anniversaries. Great reason to reach back into the loan, touch base with them, update the info you have on file, find out, hey, what are their current needs? Early payoffs. This one is not always clear as to what we're trying to describe. What you're going to see in this early payoff section is loans that have reached or gone past that early payoff date. So that the calculated early payoff penalty date, it should now be past that, meaning that there's the potential for them to be eligible to refinance. MI drop eligibility date, same kind of deal there. These should be loans that are just reaching that threshold where MI drop is eligible. You got another reason to call, another reason to potentially do a refi. So don't sleep on those, especially these couple up here with your locks expiring. I think this is a great place to start your day and let you know the fires to jump on first thing in the morning, as well as give you just an overall status shot of how your entire pipeline is going. Little bonus tip here. For any of you who are admins or company owners, by default, it's going to show you everyone. And it's not going to limit to your particular pipeline. But if you go in here, you'll be able to select yourself as the particular loan officer or pipeline, and it will filter specifically to just your loans. So if you come in here and the numbers are wildly big based compared to what your actual production is, you're probably looking at everyone's production, and you need to change this filter down to just you. All right, the second tip I'm going to talk about today is some additional fields that we've added to the loan pipeline view. Now, with pipeline view, the goal is that you should be able to scan this page and immediately know the status and what's going on in your loan files without having to go into every one. We've surfaced a lot of this valuable information, and some of you haven't yet taken the time or had the opportunity to learn about what do all these icons and these numbers mean. I'm going to walk you through that now, and it's going to change the way that you manage your pipeline in the morning. So let's look at Kentera over here up at top. Now, loan status, that's an obvious one, but you notice that there's these three little icons down here below, and they have some circles. If you look at some of our other options, you'll notice some of them are filled in with a blue dot. Some of them are filled in with a check mark. What this is it is covering the big three third-party items that are on your file: the intent to proceed, the appraisal order, and the closing disclosure, specifically the initial closing disclosure. And so what you can do is at a glance see, hey, do I have intent to proceed? Do I have my appraisal ordered, or is it back? Hey, is my initial closing disclosure sent, or is it signed and returned? For your extra third-party orders, you still don't have to go into the file. This little arrow on the bottom, if you click on it, it's going to open up this little box and tell you all of these third-party order status items all in one screen. And you still haven't had to go into the file. You're still saving yourself time, but you're getting information about what is the current status of the file. Moving to the right of that, we have some of our new indicators based on tasks. Now, I hope you guys are starting to use tasks, that you're using tasks to solidify your process, that you're making handoffs easier. There's a lot of potential there for you. We're not getting into tasks today, but if you're already using tasks, these numbers make it easy to know about tasks already on your file. This number on top is the number of total tasks that remain open. Over here on the left is tasks that are overdue. And over here on the bottom right are tasks that are due today. And you're going to notice if you click on any of these numbers, you're going to get a little pop-up and it's going to show you, hey, here are the tasks that are on that file. Even better, if these tasks are for you, you can click here and mark it done, again, without even having to go in the file, and everything just updates automatically. Even easier if you're going through and cleaning up your actions and taking those actions. So if you see some big numbers in here, you know that some work has been assigned, but hasn't been done yet. And if you see some big numbers here in red, you know some work hasn't been done within the timeline you set up. That's something for you to dive into. Next to that are our conditional approval bread and butter, right? Borrower needs and underwriter conditions. Now, a lot of these are empty, or they're saying zero conditions, but let me specify for these. These are outstanding borrower needs and outstanding underwriter conditions. So if you see zero conditions here, or some of them, if you see it with a check mark, that means that all conditions have been satisfied on this file. Same thing with borrower needs. The number of needs that you see there are needs that have not yet been satisfied. So you can get a very quick look through here and say, hey, I only have 3 borrower needs left on here. And if you hover, you're going to notice, hey, little item comes up. right? Of this, those 3 needs that are outstanding, one of them is to complete an e-sign and 2 of them are for signatures. Great quick check-in. Hey, what is it that these represent? What is the status of the file? Do I have to get involved? Is this a mission critical item that we're past or is it not? Last piece that I want to call out to you is the notes on the file. We live by notes, especially in the processing world. I was originally a processor. Note communication between loan officer and processor is the whole way the deal gets done. You don't have to go into the file to read your notes. Right over here, next to this little document icon, is your notes icon. You can click it and your note activity for that loan opens right here on the right. You can read the latest note without going into the file. If you have to ask a question about a loan file, if you're the type that likes to ping a loan processor for an update, throw a note in there, you don't have to go in anymore. You can go right down your pipeline, tag in to open the notes and add a new note very quickly without having to jump in and out of the files. It's going to save you a ton of time waiting for these things to load. Little bonus tip here, for those of you who have a borrower who is still emailing you docs for whatever reason, you can upload docs directly to that file by using this little extra options menu and throw the docs directly in without opening the file. This one's is a real time saver when you are going through cleaning your email up between calls and you find, oh, that borrower emailed these docs, but they only emailed them to me and I need to quick throw them in. This is still the fastest way to do it unless you can get your borrower into the borrower portal. All right, moving along here. I know we're covering a lot of stuff, guys. Jumping into your file, rate alerts, a recent addition that came out in one of our releases last year, but we noticed that a lot of folks don't quite know when to use them or how to set them up. My recommendation is to set them up in the file, especially for purchases, before the file finishes closing. That is because to do it the easiest way, that file still needs to have some edit access. If you go to product and pricing, now you'll notice, like a lot of other files, it should already be priced and a product applied. What you do to create a rate alert for this existing loan file and product is you're going to act like you're going to reprice it. And then when you go and run new pricing and you find your product, you're going to use this little drop down on the right hand side. And instead of applying, you're going to click set rate alert. Here's where you get to the real bread and butter of it. You're going to notice it pulls in automatically the borrower information and ties it together. And it gives you some options to do some additional tweaking about when that rate alert is going to fire, what the price is, or the target price, or the target rate, depending on how you choose to set it up, whatever works and makes the most sense for that particular borrower situation. Here's where you're going to set it up and save it. One caveat to the way that rate alerts work that I want to call out to you, which is that rate alerts are not aware of the timeline of the loan. So as soon as you set one up, it's going to start checking every day if that threshold has been met for the rate alert to go off. So even if your file only closed yesterday, if the rate gets better the following day and you've set up your rate alert, that will go off. There's no current feature that allows you to put a delay on it until after X amount of time has passed. It's something that we're hoping to work on in the future, but currently, when you set this rate alert on and you hit set rate alert, it is live and it will look for that rate every day, no matter if the loan that it was tied to was possible for refinance yet, or you're still in that window where there'd be early payoff penalty, that kind of thing. All right, we're going to drive to a last one that I wanted to make sure I cover because this comes up in a lot of Broker Connect meetings. Let's talk about creating pipeline reports. Folks know that pipeline reports are possible, but a lot of times they haven't been trained on it. It's not something they have to run all the time. You know, maybe you've been shown once and forgotten. So let's just run through the quick basic how-tos of running a report. No matter your subscription type, I believe that report access is available for users, for admins, for branch managers. The report results are going to be filtered based on the user role that you have. So by default, if you're just a loan officer, all you can run a report on is your production. But if you're a branch manager, you have the potential to run reports for the whole branch, and a company admin can, of course, do it for the whole company. What you're going to do is create a new report. It shows 3 buttons, but these are coming soon features. So your only option is for loans, and you're going to have to put in a name for your report name. This is kind of a template. You'll be able to tweak it afterwards, but it's going to have a name right at first. So we'll call this test report 1. It's going to default on visibility to me only, meaning that you can create a report template, but you have the potential to share it. Now, we don't have the ability yet to restrict who can share reports. So anyone that makes a report has the ability to share it with the whole company. But we are going to recommend as a best practice that you don't do that unless you have a very strong and approved reason to do so. Our recommendation is to just make reports for yourself. And if there becomes a need that you want to share pre-made reports with someone else, then we would recommend recreating it once you have it dialed in and you're getting the data you're expecting. Just keep that in mind. So we're going to create a report, and the first thing it's going to do is it's going to require us to select some filters. This list continues to grow, so I'm not going to tell you all the options that currently exist, but some commonly selected ones and ones that I use a lot is loan updated. So if we're looking at just when files were last touched, when some field changed, that's going to be called loan updated. You're going to see it in other places in our system as loan modified date. Know that they are the same thing, and it represents just the last time this loan had any change, anything that caused it to save again, then that date value updates in the background. There are certain restrictions where, depending on the number of records that it's going to return, you may find that the report asks you to pick a smaller time frame. So keep that in mind. Once you reach a certain size of loans, you're not going to be able to run a report that gives you every loan you've ever done. You'll likely have to chunk things into smaller time periods. So expect that. Also, don't forget about these filters over here to include archived loans and adverse loans. If you're trying to look at funded content, I sure hope that you are using archived loans after you've gone past that compliance period, as that does help keep your org snappy, as archived loans are excluded by default in several kind of several search kind of functions as well as display functions, unless otherwise specified. But once a file is outside of that compliance window, I like to archive it in my organizations personally. I would recommend it for you. But we have our filters here. Once we have things how we set up how we like, you're going to want to go to this manage columns. You're going to inherit several fields by default. Keep in mind, the only one you are required to keep on your report is this primary borrower. So you click this remove all, and you can strip out everything but primary borrower. And then over here, you can add in whatever fields you like just by clicking on them here. And as you click and add them, they'll show up over here. You can also rearrange this a little bit by dragging if you like a particular order of things. For me, I always like the ARIVE loan ID, and I like to keep the ARIVE loan ID as far up as possible. Sometimes it won't let you put it up at the very top, but I prefer the ARIVE loan ID on everyone. It's a personal recommendation of mine. And we have several fields down here. Keep in mind, if you have custom fields or custom questions, they're going to show up here at the very bottom, only if you've checked that they are available for reporting. And then once you have the fields that you like, you're going to click update. You're going to notice this preview is going to re-render, and then you can click add report. And only after you've clicked add report will it show up here in reports, and then you actually get to run the report. So I have my report here, and export is what actually causes this report to run. Clicking this is going to cause a little item to come up and tell you, hey, we're exporting, which means the report is running. The application is pulling the data from the back end. This can take anywhere from a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes, depending on server load and how much data you are pulling in. It has, in some tiny text, a progress symbol here. And then once it's done, it's going to download it as a CSV file. CSV is called comma separated value. You would open this with Excel, or a similar Excel Sheets type of application. Google Sheets will work. Libra Open Office will work. There's also several other data applications you can use to open it. Just know that it is a open format data. It's a common data format that you'll be able to open in whatever Office suite you're currently using. Now, I've shown you guys a massive amount of information here. Now we're at the point where I want to pivot and let's start talking about questions from the audience. One sec, I'm going to temporarily stop sharing my screen. All right. What do we have in the chat, guys, for questions that have come up already?
I think a lot of them got answered. I don't see anything new.
I'm just looking through real quick as well. If you guys do have questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. If you have more questions about how to do something new, especially if you're a new user, we mentioned it up at the top. The new user class is available at, I believe, arrive.com/events. We highly recommend that for new users to walk you through all of these features. You have time on these calls to ask questions about how it works. You can get some personalized attention if time allows. If you're experiencing bugs with any of these kind of features, make sure you go to support.arrive.com. We have support documentation there about how many of these features work, and you can talk to the support chat there and submit tickets if you have any bugs or technical issues. You can also always email support@arrive.com, and that will create a support ticket on your behalf where we reach out to you as soon as we can, depending on volume, of course.
Well, now the chat's blowing up fast and furious. You asked and you received questions.
Can we see an exported report example? Absolutely. So let me try and open this one up. Well, that's the text. That's not how we're going to want to see it. Let me get to my folder here and just one sec, guys. I'm going to try to open this with my Office application. One sec while I get Google Sheets open. That's what we're going to do here. All right. And the demo gods are being a little cruel today. This is the time it does not want to open. One sec here. Let me see if I can throw this in here and I can show you in Google Sheets, which is a perfectly fine way to view this.
Jason, to your question to the deeper dive, you're looking at it. We have lots of trainings. I just threw in the arrive.com/events. There's a lot on there. And then you can go back and watch our YouTubes of past presenters as well. That's the best way to kind of deep dive into some of these features to see how other people are using it for their business.
Also, make sure to keep an eye on your email, right? We have more, tips and tricks and other Broker Connect items where we talk in greater detail. Other brokers come on and share their tips and tricks. Also a great way to learn. All right, so here we go. I got things up. I'm going to reshare my screen, guys. So I've got this open in Google Sheets, and here is what my resulting form looks like. Now you're going to see the headers right up here at the top, and then either we have text or numbers down here for my exported data. So should be ready to work with, converted to a table, performing calculations, scripts, macros on. For you Excel warriors, it's a very easy format to continue to work on and do analysis on if you tend to enjoy that kind of thing. Does this help answer that question? All right, let's jump into some of these other questions we have here in the chat. How is the pricing engine handled for a broker correspondent mixed office? I cannot get us to jive. Okay. In I'm not going to get too deep into it now, but in company settings, you can specify some elements are correspondent, some elements are broker, and you'll be able to differentiate it on certain lenders or products. So that division and that setup happens all on the company settings page. You do have to be a company admin to have access to that, and it is done at the org level. So if you have multiple branches in your organization, it does get set for all branches at once. You can't break it up per branch. It's a bit of an all or nothing regarding the way that setting works. Regarding, I need to take an application today. Is there a webinar archived online I can watch? Head over to the support page, and I believe we have a quick video about how to take your first application and kind of the necessary setup. There's a couple pieces of data you're going to have to throw into settings first before it'll let you create and originate your first loan. That'll be on support@arrive.com. Regarding archiving loans, can you go over that again? So when you are inside of a loan file, and I'll jump into a quick example loan file and I can show you this. Jacqueline, make sure you're keeping me honest regarding time. I don't want to push us over. When you're inside an example loan file, over here in these three dot options, there is the option way down here to archive the loan. There you go. You guys, I had to scroll a little bit for this very last option called archive loan. And what this is going to do is it's going to hide it by default from some of your search results and pipeline results, as well as by default from some of your reporting. Now, a very important detail regarding this, right? If you guys are doing your own compliance or you have a compliance team, loans that get archived may not show up on their call report or other reporting they do. So my recommendation is not to archive the loan until after that period has happened, that reporting period where it would need to show up in call reports or other reporting elements. That being said, if it was something like a test loan or something where that kind of reporting wouldn't come into play, you could archive it beforehand. Disclaimer, I am not a compliance professional. Discuss with your compliance professional at your organization. But when you click to archive it, it's going to give you a little archive reason here. So this is my example for archiving. And then what's going to happen is you're going to start to get this overlay every time you go on the file, letting you know it's archived, your display message up here. If for any reason you need to unarchive it, you absolutely can. This is restricted for some roles. So in certain cases, you may need to be an admin or have an additional permission, but you hit unarchive, it's going to have you confirm it. It's letting you know, hey, this will show up again in pipeline and MCR reports. You hit confirm, the loan is unarchived. That's how that piece works.
We still have 30 minutes, so you're plenty good on time. Still lots of questions coming through and still people joining.
All right, let's keep diving through here. Let's see how much we can cover. Will you please show the right way to adverse a loan, clone it as a new loan with documents carried up EBD the address line? Okay, so with this particular one, we can talk about the features. There are requirements as to compliance requirements as to when a loan has to be adversed and reporting requirements that come with that. Again, I am not a compliance professional. This does not constitute compliance advice. Please consult with your compliance professional regarding this action. But we can talk about how we're going to do this. The first thing you're going to want to do, right, because you have two actions here. Hey, how do I adverse the loan? And how do I clone it with a to be determined for the address line? Let's talk about cloning the file first. There's a couple ways you can do it. Let's talk about doing it from inside the loan. So I'm going to share my screen one more time here. I say one more time, we'll share it as many times as we need to. In the loan file, again, these options in the top right-hand corner, we're going to click this, and we're going to find Clone Loan, which is in this very first section. When you click this, you're going to get this little menu that pops up. Here's where all the magic happens, and here's where you can shoot yourself in the foot, or you can set yourself up for success. The majority of these items are going to carry over from your existing file, and you're going to notice it's going to carry over the subject line by default. Now, we're trying to give you a hint here. Hey, like you're copying over a file that has all 6 data points. So when you create this file, if you don't change this, you'll be triggering TRID. So you have to confirm that if that's your intent and that's the way you move forward. It prevents you from cloning the file too fast. What you can do is this to be determined. If you click this, it's going to flip that address to be determined. And look, that little acknowledgement that we had to do, that we had the 6 points of data, has disappeared because now we do not have the 6 points. This cloned file is not triggering TRID. You can decide here if you want to copy the existing fees in your prior file, or if you want the default fee setup in your settings to carry over to this cloned file. Vary as your use case fits. All of your default contacts are going to carry over. I want you to pay special attention to the other team members that are assigned by default if you want them on this new file, and your business contacts. A very common workflow is you have a purchase and you're cloning the purchase to set up a future refinance. By default, it's going to carry over those business contacts from the purchase. You'll want to remove them at this step before the new file is added. You can remove them after the fact, but better to start with clean data whenever possible. Let's say we're going to pull these other folks off because they are not appropriate yet to be assigned to this file, and I'm going to copy existing fees. Now, my example file doesn't have any documents in here, but if there were documents associated with the file, we would have all the documents listed in checkboxes so you can specify what needs to be copied over and what doesn't need to be copied over. Again, a best data practice is if you don't need the copied data, don't bring it over, especially when we're talking about borrower contacts and borrower data that we want to protect. But if you do need to copy over existing documentation, you'll be able to select it here, and that happens at the same time the loan clone is happening. Once I have all of this set up, I'm going to hit Clone Loan. It's going to start doing the work, and you're also going to notice it's going to redirect me directly into the new file. So you'll have to make note of what my old file was, because it's going to take me into my new file. You're going to notice, right, I have some automations that ran from cloning the file. It's letting me know it cloned this from that. And if you go into activity logs, it's actually going to let you know somewhere down here that you created a automation, a cloned file. See, loan cloned. A new loan record has been cloned from, and then you have your original loan record. So if you ever forget what it came from, you can find that here. That being said, I'm going to try to go back, and that's going to take me back into my prior file. Now let's talk about adversing the file. Again, this is not compliance advice. Please consult with your compliance expert regarding the actions necessary when adversing a file. But to execute an aversion in Arrive, we're going to go to these 3 dots, and we're going to go to adverse loan. You're going to get a side panel here that's going to let you specify the adverse date, the adverse reason. These are very important. Do not adverse a file without an adverse reason. We will say, app withdrawn by borrower. You're going to notice when you make your selection, secondary criteria comes up. Again, make sure you're making these selections. This is important for reporting downstream. We will say service unsatisfactory. You have some additional items you can check here that are specific to this particular type. Keep in mind that these will change based on the base adverse reason that you've selected. Let's say our credit decision was based on a credit report. Delivery date. So these, if you've delivered this aversion outside of the system, you have the ability to specify that here before the adverse action happens. Notice this notification section, it says no notifications will be sent to any users, but you do have the option in your settings for setting up a notification to go to the borrower when the file is adversed. And that little edit option here is going to open it up for us and show us the template that is currently not happening. But we would have to go into settings and enable that if we wanted that notification to automatically fire. That being said, whether you're going to send this separately or have already sent it and you're recording it here, or you're going to use this notification system as the way of notifying your borrower, you're going to make sure all of that's set. And when you click adverse, we're going to do a little run. It's going to say adverse successfully. And now this little bar sits up at the top. This loan was adverse due to reason app withdrawn by borrower. And now your file is officially adversed. Interesting thing about adversed files, sometimes they will show up as loan status adversed, and sometimes they will show up as the prior loan status they had, but also there is an adverse date on the file. It depends a little bit on the context of when you're looking at the file, but keep that in mind when you're searching for it later. All right, let's jump into the chat. Let's see what the next one is we can grab here. Can we create a video for loan milestones to be automatically sent out to borrowers and partners on the file? Yes, you can. You would be adding to your email templates, which is going to be for the user in user settings, email templates. And you'll notice in our editor, it supports adding or embedding video. Loom, I believe, is the one that we support by default, and I think is in our example. But the fact is that a lot of online video providers provide the option for embedding video, and you can add those either by going to the code view in the editor or using the default editor and inserting things in. So yes, that's absolutely possible. It is on you to record the videos, find the service that is hosting them, meaning where those video files live, whether it's in Loom or somewhere else, and then going into your email templates and adding them. All right, we're going down here, guys. Thanks for throwing these questions in the chat. Allowing to filter your only notes would be important. Yes, we are in agreement. We do have feedback about being more options for filtering notes. That's very much on our radar. I don't have an ETA on that yet, but important feedback. I'm there with you. Let's keep going here. I have tried to YouTube Arrive, but I have had no luck. What is the best way to access YouTube content? So it's been called out elsewhere, right? We have our official channel. Do not sleep on going to support@arrive.com. We have more video content on the support site than what is available on YouTube. And a lot of it is only accessible by going to the support site, including a fantastic series that we have on there called Arrive in 5, which are 5-minute or less videos that teach you how to use a certain feature. Keep in mind, you'll have to be logged in as an Arrive user when you go to the support site to see those. But if you're having trouble, our support team can also help you with that. Further down for more questions. Can you link to where you can find more material on the deeper dive of Arrive? Yes, there's 2 places you want to go. Arrive.com/events, I believe, is the URL for our online events that we host. That includes the new user class. That's where you're going to want to go first, and we're going to have broad teaching across our various features. Also, support.arrive.com is where we have our support articles and training videos on how to use features. We also put out updates every time we